honorable members, distinguished guests, thank you very much for the invitation to join you during this event and to present all that we're doing in the youth affairs sector in the Kingdom of Bahrain. It's an absolute privilege for me to be here with you and with such a distinguished number of our colleagues. I was asked to share with you a story, the story about the youth programs in Bahrain, a story that explains the leadership's priorities, our leadership's values, and our leadership's vision going forward. The story starts on the 18th of March 2018, when His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad, Chairman of the Supreme Council for Youth and Sports, decided to convene an extraordinary summit where all cabinet members were in attendance. The summit was filmed and presented live on TV. It was also attended by a large number of young residents and young citizens. And the purpose of the summit, i.e. the Youth Summit of 2018, was to allow for a first initial interaction, a policy hackathon that allowed ministers and the youth to collaborate, cooperate, and solve the leading problems of the day. Needless to say, the outcome of the exercise was incredible, and it reverberates till today. We are seeing ripples of that summit in every single program that we do, both in youth affairs, sports, education, employment, empowerment, and other portfolios. And so the story goes as follows. The Youth Summit in 2018 came out with a number of key priorities that your youth, our youth, and youth around the world needed to address. We presented these categorically and assessed them scientifically and ensured that we gather as much insight and cohesion with regards to the method in which we're going to adopt these solutions. So the solutions were simple. Number one, what did youth want? They asked for an open, competitive, just environment, a meritocratic ecosystem that allowed them to aspire for greatness. And that's what we're working on. Second, they've asked for youth empowerment centers. These youth empowerment centers are intended to make them feel safe, seen, supported, wanted, trusted, and hopeful. Now, these 5+1 metrics are metrics that we measure on a day-to-day basis. We need to make sure that every program that we have is precision oriented and focused on achieving very specific goals. The next bit that we had was with regards to education and upskilling, i.e. preparation for the labor force. What our youth asked for was very, very simple. Instead of old legacy methods of education, they wanted new age upskilling and reskilling, purpose-driven programs. And so what we were doing there is focusing on vocational learning, focusing on micro modules, focusing on targeted skill acquisition. And this is something that we're honored to be doing with both Temkeen, which I'm sure you'll hear about, and also the Ministry of Education. And so that then brought us to the next point. And the next point was our partnership with the private sector, particularly and employers in general. The partnership allowed us to focus all of our efforts on one particular item. And the particular item that they had wanted was employability. And we had 3 red lines under that word, employability, to allow us to focus completely on this acquired objective. And so what does that mean? From employability, we went ahead and reversed engineered a full ecosystem. What happens today, and this is being launched in the next week or so, is we have a central data pool now called the Employability Skills Portal. What does that mean? The Employability Skills Portal is something out of the future. It has artificial intelligence in it. It has dynamic integration with different ministries and data collection pools. And we've got a number of user interfaces. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is our objective was employability. How do we get to employability? We get there through targeted upskilling and reskilling. How do we know what to upskill or reskill? Very simple. We've got a portal, a computer, a database that is called the Employability Skills Portal. What the Employability Skills Portal does is it shows you the current demand, or shows our youth in public, the current demand for skills based on the job vacancies that are available. It establishes very clearly if one was to acquire a particular occupation, or if one was to land a particular job, how much they were going to be paid on a monthly basis based on the market rate that is available. In addition to that, we use artificial intelligence to forecast future requirements. This is done on an industry by industry basis. So we've got elements in construction, we've got elements in retail, we've got elements in academia and others. The youth is that they sit in youth centers, or they sit in Tamkeen centers, both types of centers, or alternatively, and that's our favorite route, go on to the application. And through the application, they would be able to identify, number one, what opportunities are available today, what opportunities are going to be available in 2, 3, 4 months that are forecasted and projected using our algorithms. What they then decide is whether those are worthwhile or not. If they did decide that they are worthwhile, then they go to a center that we are creating called Skills Bahrain. And what Skills Bahrain does is that it reverse engineers a map between the current state and the future state. So what it does is that it shows the youth the steps that they need to acquire so that they can reach the ultimate objective of securing the job and so on. What else did we do? What we did was we focused on hope, i.e. the synthesizing of hope. And to do so, His Majesty, 10th of October, 2020, ordered all apparatuses within government and requested the population as a whole to now adopt our youth strategy. What did it focus on? It focused on, number one, the synthesization of hope. And how are we going to do that? We've already spoken about the opportunities, i.e. identifying employment opportunities going forward, reverse engineering the skills that you need to acquire to be able to secure that. We also, within the portal, allow for internships, vocational learning, and apprenticeships. On the other hand, there is a large portion of our youth population that would like to go into entrepreneurial ventures and enterprises. And so where we focus there is, again, very, very simple. His Majesty ordered the creation of the Hope Fund. What the Hope Fund does is we simply catalyze, support, discover, mentor, and finally fund and seed youth enterprises. And the objective really is to allow them to start by identifying the challenge ahead, the problem that their business is going to solve. Number two, focus on finding partnership and collaboration opportunities. Number three, setting up the organizations. Number four, allowing us to inject in them and through them international best practices. And then number five, what we do is we take them regional and we take them global. And so the Hope Fund is something that is very, very near and dear to His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamed's heart. He supervises the program very, very closely. And what's the goal there? The goal there, again, is champion building. What we need is 1, 2, 3, like in any other jurisdiction, archetype stories of success. What we need is a unicorn to be formed in Bahrain. What we need is to acquire talent, shed light on talent, and then finally invest in that talent. And so just to recap, what we talked about at the beginning was an open, competitive, just environment, so a meritocratic ecosystem. Second, youth empowerment. And so these are centers where youth are allowed to feel safe, seen, supported, wanted, trusted, hopeful. What we then talked about is the labor force and the labor market with the employability skills portal, where people could identify and visualize their future opportunities and then reverse engineer the steps that they need to take to get there. Number 4, we talked about the link between that and the private sector, i.e. entrepreneurship and the Hope Fund. We are adamant that with those key pillars that we were established back in 2018 and we rolled out over the next 3 years, we are adamant that we are living through the golden age, or the beginning of the golden age of the youth movement. Finally, I would like to thank you, and I look forward to the privilege of discussing all of these programs with you and seeing how we can collaborate with each other, both in Bahrain and abroad. And thank you once again for the invitation, and I hope you enjoyed our story, and I look forward to sharing more chapters of the story in years to come.